His Excellency Mr. Mohlabi Kenneth Tsekoa, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Lesotho. Honorable Minister, you are welcome to the podium.
Mr. President, it is now 15 years since the adoption of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and also 12 years since the Kyoto Protocol. We are meeting here to review our commitment to the objectives that we set for ourselves under this convention. COP15 marks the culmination of the negotiations launched 24 months ago through the Bali roadmap that we all agreed to. The Bali roadmap is, without doubt, of great significance to our quest to address the compelling challenges of climate change that we face today. Mr. President, Lesotho aligns herself with the views expressed by the chair of the least developed countries on how we should define our roadmap from now onto the period beyond 2012. It is alarming to note that as we become more aware of the intrinsic need to combat climate change, our actions are not commensurate with the essential level of commitment to the objectives agreed under this convention. We know the route that we must follow to combat climate change. That route is the reduction of the greenhouse gases emissions. But we seem reluctant to live up to our responsibilities. The reports of the IPCC bear testimony to the continuing deterioration of climatic conditions that are essential for the very survival of humanity on this planet. It is imperative, therefore, that the outcome of COP15 should be a beacon that defines the future of the planet that we shall bequeath to posterity. Mr. President, all countries are affected by climate change in various ways. Lesotho's initial communication under the UNFCCC, as well as the National Adaptation Program of Action, emphasize the country's extreme vulnerability to climate change. These and other related documents identify land degradation, desertification, food insecurity, and the gradual decline of the land carrying capacity as the most serious climate change-related problems. Lesotho, being landlocked, mountainous, and having fragile ecosystems, is identified under Article 4.8 of the Convention to have special needs and special concerns. In the past 5 years, Lesotho's infrastructure, worth at least $30 million has been lost through floods, strong winds, and tornadoes. And in the past 10 years, food production per capita has been reduced from 112 to 83 tons. Contribution of agriculture to gross domestic product has declined from 4 to 2%. Biomass energy resources have declined, and our people have had to go further afield to collect firewood, which is a requisite source of household energy and cooking. water resources have generally declined per capita as a result of climate change. Despite the meager financial resources and competing socio-economic needs, Lesotho has made a commitment to address the imperatives brought about by climate change. For instance, we have planted over 9 million trees between 2003 and 2009, and also under the National Electrification Master Plan, whose target is to have 35% of households connected to electricity by the year 2015, 30% of households have been connected to date. The achievement of this plan needs some $0.4 billion US, which unfortunately we do not have. Mr. President, Lesotho would like to reiterate her position on the following important issues. First, the provision of financial, technological, and capacity building support by developed country parties for adaptation in developing countries is a commitment under the Convention that must be urgently fulfilled. Climate change places additional burden on the developing countries in their efforts to achieve sustainable development and the Millennium Development Goals in particular. Second, the Convention recognizes the special needs of the least developed countries. It is through the Least Development Countries Fund and the Special Climate Change Fund that the least developed and the developing countries can best be assisted. These funds must therefore be maintained and strengthened. 3, the Copenhagen outcome must provide new, additional, sustainable, accessible, and predictable finance to support a comprehensive international program on adaptation that reduces vulnerability and increases resilience to impacts that are already occurring and impacts that are likely to occur in the future. 4, it is imperative that the Kyoto Protocol is maintained and effectively implemented. And 5, the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities must continue to be upheld in the post-2012 regime on the combat of climate change. And finally, COP15 must result in fair, equitable, and effective conclusions that will benefit climate as well as vulnerable countries. These conclusions must take into account the overriding priority of poverty eradication, sustainable development, and the need to consolidate gender equity in all our societies. Finally, Mr. President, the enormity of the challenge of our time is crystal clear. It is up to us here in Copenhagen to seal a decent and robust deal that will save our planet and humanity. I thank you.